Parks and Recreation Director Dave Simon. He's going to go first. Then we're going to hear from State Parks, AFR, APD. Cool? Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone coming out to this 5-star New Mexico day here. We are blessed in Albuquerque to have a city with a living river through the heart of it. And the river and the bosque, of course, provide year-round recreation opportunity for our residents and visitors, and makes Albuquerque an incredibly special place to live. And spring, of course, brings the return of river recreation to our area, which is another just tremendous, exciting benefit that we all have from living here in Albuquerque. The Open Space Division, along with our numerous partners, manages 4,000 acres of the bosque along the middle reach here of the Rio Grande. That includes a 16-mile stretch of the river that flows within and through the heart of the city of Albuquerque. Now, the city annually looks forward to the return of more water to our river, and with the spring runoff happening, as you can see behind us, the river is up. Today the river is flowing at about 2,700 cubic feet per second. That's measured from a gauge that's at the Alameda Bridge a few miles north of here. And that's a nice flow for seasonal recreation here on the Rio Grande through the middle of the city. It's actually a lower flow than we saw last year, when really strong winter snowpack and an early runoff lifted the river higher, and we had a lot of water infiltration and overbanking into the bosque, of course, which is really good for the bosque. So the benefits of a healthy river when it's flowing and even overbanking are really to rejuvenate the health of the bosque and the river system overall. Now, the City of Albuquerque's Open Space Division is part of managing the Rio Grande Valley State Park. We have numerous access points to the bosque, including some excellent river access points that enable us to enjoy the river safely. Most of the good access points to the river are located in proximity to the 5 bridges that cross the river, more or less, that bound the city limits. Most of the time, access to the river along those bridge access points does involve a short portage with your paddle equipment to get to the river, but when the river's up a little bit, that portage, of course, is shorter. We also have, so there's good access points at Rio Bravo, at Central, at Montano, and at Paseo del Norte, and also Alameda. And then there's another excellent river good access point at the Calabasas open space, which is on the west side of the river, in the area of the Cottonwood Mall, a little bit south of Cottonwood Mall. So, we really encourage people to use and enjoy the bosque and use and enjoy the river, but we need to do that safely. May is also National Water Safety Month, and it's just key that everyone understands that we're blessed to be able to enjoy the river, but we need to respect the river, always be aware of its risks and our own limitations. Boating and swimming safely is the key to enjoying the Rio Grande here during the spring and summer months. We want to remind everyone to follow all boating safety laws and regulations, which are state laws. The most important 2 things to keep everyone safe here is, of course, to wear a personal flotation device, or PFD. Life jackets save lives, and of course, boating and alcohol do not mix. And just like our driving or DUI laws here in the city and state, there is a boating under the influence law that our state park representatives here today will explain in further detail. It's legal and fun to float down this river in kayaks, in rafts, on paddle boards, but we discourage the use of homemade equipment or sort of inner tube type flotation devices, which can get you into trouble quickly here on the river. Now, I want to also remind people that Parks and Recreation, as well as State Parks, offers a variety of boating safety classes. At the City of Albuquerque, we offer classes on kayaking and paddleboarding, and you can find out information on those classes and how to sign up for those classes at our website, cabq.gov. And I want to also encourage all parents, adults, and guardians to enroll their children in swim lessons. Swim lessons are the difference maker for safety in any water environment. A person who's completed a basic swim lesson program essentially will reduce the risk of drowning by almost 90%. So again, a lot of opportunities to take swim lesson classes through the city, and you can find that information on our website at cabq.gov. We're actually looking forward to participating in June 15th. The city will be participating in the world's largest swim lesson, which is going to take place globally on June 15th. So, June 20th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. June 20th is the world's largest swim lesson. And free lessons are going to be available at our West Mesa pool on that day. I also want to invite the public to enjoy the river, but help us protect the river. And people can do that by participating in a National River Cleanup event, which will be occurring this Saturday, May 18th. We're going to be cleaning up the Bosque and River on the west side of the river, just north of Central. This event is free and open to the public. Volunteers can join us at essentially at the intersection of Central and Sunset for this Bosque fun and helpful Bosque cleanup. There'll be prizes for participation and all kinds of fun. And again, we need to enjoy the Bosque, enjoy the river, protect the Bosque, and at all times put safety at the forefront of our engagement with this beautiful live river behind us. So thank you very much for being here. We want everyone to stay safe this summer while enjoying our wonderful outdoor spaces. Thank you.
All right, next we're going to invite out State Parks, Scott Chalmers. He's the Boating Safety and Education Program Coordinator. Just to say a few words, near-ish.
Thank you for that introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Chalmers. I'm the Boating Safety and Education Program Coordinator for the state of New Mexico within the New Mexico State Parks Division, Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department. New Mexico State Parks administers New Mexico's boating safety laws and regulations, and we'll get into what that means for people who are contemplating floating the Albuquerque reach of the Rio Grande in a moment. State Park Rangers are also charged with the enforcement of those rules and regulations statewide, regardless of whether those boating waters are within New Mexico State Park boundaries or not. So don't be surprised if you or your group is approached by a State Park Ranger here in Albuquerque while you're floating the Rio this spring, summer, or at any time. Many New Mexicans enjoy floating on the Rio Grande or boating on their favorite lake or other river, but boating is not without its risks, ever, and this is a timely reminder of that. Last year, so in 2023, 10 people died while recreational boating in New Mexico, statewide. And of those deaths, 5 were paddlers, so 50% were paddlers over the last 12 months. So safety must be foremost on the minds of anybody who's going to be floating the Rio Grande this year. And as you can see behind me, we've got our spring runoff flows and the public safety agencies who are represented at this event are a testament to the seriousness of prior planning and preparation before embarking on your journey. So let's talk about what the law requires to ensure the safety of you and your group on the river. First, New Mexico law requires everybody who's engaged in boating on a river in New Mexico to carry and wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved personal flotation device. In other words, a life jacket. The life jacket has to be appropriate for the activity. It has to be of the proper size and fit for the wearer. So if your kids had a life jacket from last year, for example, and you find that they've outgrown it over the winter, it's time to size up, but it's very important that life jackets fit everybody properly. So it's not something to buy for the kids to grow into either. I'll talk more about life jackets in a moment. The other two pieces of safety equipment that the law requires for river floaters is a paddle and a sound producing device like a whistle. Paddles are extremely important with these flows because of the faster river flows. It's going to require a lot more attention and preparation to navigate around river obstacles in the channel, such as fallen cottonwood trees or the jetty jacks. Sound producing device can be something as simple as a whistle. I recommend clip your whistle onto your life jacket, so if you take an unplanned swim into the river, your whistle comes right into the water with you. I brought a couple of life jackets with me. We can do a quick life jacket fitting demonstration if I can get a volunteer or two who's willing to put a life jacket on in front of the cameras. Okay, so I saw one hand come up. If you can take a step up to the front, we'll find a life jacket for you to put on. And either one will work fine. So before we begin, let's take a look at the life jacket I'm holding. This life jacket is designed specifically for paddling activities like you would do here on the river. Canoeing, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, whatever the case may be. So it's a far cry from the bulky giant orange life jackets that we might be familiar with from when we grew up. As you can see, it's a lot more streamlined. And it won't restrict your range of motion, so it's actually quite comfortable to put on and wear. So I'm going to have you put this on. It's very simple, just like a vest, put one arm through each hole. And it's kind of a multi-step process. So step one will be to ensure that the zipper is securely fastened. Some life jackets will have clips and straps instead of zippers. Next is to make sure that the buckles are secured. And the buckles, there should be no broken buckles, no broken webbing, no rips or tears or anything like that. Next, under the arms, you'll notice some adjustment points behind you. So these can be brought in or out depending on your size. Life jackets go by wearer weight and chest size. You'll spin around, they'll tighten this one up too. Life jacket should fit firmly but not tightly, so it should be comfortable to wear. And last but not least, raise your hands over your head, and I'm going to pull up on the shoulders. And the life jacket doesn't really move. What that tells us is that it's properly fitted and properly adjusted. If I lifted up on it and I were to be able to pull it up over his chin, that's a sign that the life jacket is too loose, and we either need to tighten down the straps or go the next size down to get a properly sized life jacket. This is perfect, and as you can see, it doesn't cover too much of his body, so it's actually quite cool to wear on a hot summer day. Thank you for demonstrating that. If you'd like to
put it over there.
Great. Excellent. So as a reminder, we have a life jacket which must be worn, and one whistle and one paddle on each vessel. The life jackets have to be, again, Coast Guard approved and in good and serviceable condition. Like I said, no rips, tears, broken buckles, or anything like that. And be sure to read the label on the life jacket. It'll say Coast Guard approved. That's what you want to look for. You can buy some similar look-alike items that are actually marketed as flotation aids. Those do not count. Those are not, there's no guarantee that those will will float somebody who takes a dump into the river. So it's really important to look for that U.S. Coast Guard approval notice on the label. Other than that, I'd like to remind everyone that New Mexico State Parks offers free boating safety classes year-round across the state of New Mexico. This is a great way to knock the rust off if you own a motorboat or you're considering getting into boating, whether motorized or non-motorized, this summer. We've got one coming up this Saturday at the Rio Grande Nature Center State Park at the end of Candelaria. And these are 8-hour courses. You sign up at the state park's website, register an account, sit through the class, ask any questions you may have of the instructor, which is going to be experienced New Mexico State Park Rangers. Sit for a certification exam at the end and get your boater education card. State law requires, if you're operating a motorboat or a sailboat on New Mexico waters and you were born on or after January 1st, 1989, you have to take and complete a New Mexico boater education course offered by state parks. So we offer in-person courses across the state, and we also have online options, which you can find on our website as well. And the good thing about our online options is you can study at your own pace, pretty much any time. Work on it a little bit at your own pace, take a break and come back to it and that type of thing. I'll leave you with one final thought, and that is to always wear your life jacket. About 3 out of every 4 people who drown while boating in New Mexico, actually about 85% of people who drowned while boating in New Mexico were not wearing their life jackets at the time the incident occurred. So it's the absolute simplest thing you can do to prevent your excursion from turning into a tragedy on the water. Life jackets are far too difficult to take and put on once you're already in the water. So the best thing you can do with your life jacket is be wearing it before you leave it.
All right, next I'm going to invite up Catherine Bastille. Okay, with AFR. Sorry, I didn't want to butcher your last name.
Hi, my name is Catherine Bastille. I'm the Battalion Chief of Special Operations, which oversees our Technical Rescue Division as well as our Wildland Division with Albuquerque Fire Rescue. With Albuquerque Fire Rescue, we partner with a lot of other agencies within the metro area to help provide rescue responses to river emergencies. Like every other agency, we'd like to encourage the use of the river. We're happy to see our citizens out here, but we'd like to see it done safely. And one way to do that is to prepare before you come out on the river. Most important thing is to make sure that you do wear a personal flotation device or a life jacket. Even if you do know how to swim, you should have one on. Make sure that it is properly sized. Another thing is to make sure that alcohol or other substances are not on board when you're out on the river. Make sure that you know your location at all times. Throughout the river, there's been posted river mile markers. If you see those as you're floating down the river, when you call into 911, we're able to locate you in a quicker manner and get the aid that you need. If you don't see any of those river markers, it's nice to know on your phone how you can get your precise location, latitude and longitude. That way we can get you the help again as soon as needed. Other things to think about is just your general well-being. Make sure you're dressing appropriate for the environment. Although it might be warm outside, the river water itself is pretty cold, and a few minutes in there can start getting some hypothermia onset, which does impair your mental ability, your decision making, which can lead to a worse emergency. Make sure you're well hydrated, make sure that you have food, and again, watch your weather so that you know what's coming in. Try to prepare your trip ahead of time so that you have an early start time, that you're off the water before dark sets in. And also an important thing is to make sure that you let somebody who's not going to be with you know what you're doing, that you're going to be out on the water that day, where you intend to go in, your access points, and where you intend to come out and about what time. That way, if you don't show up, again, they can contact us and give us information. Other than that, we want to make sure that you guys are doing things safely. Watch as that river rises. Make sure you know your access points. Make sure you know where the dams are so that you can be safe while you're out on the river. Thank you.
And last but not least, APD.
Oh, all right, fantastic. Good afternoon. I'm Chris Schroeder. I'm the lieutenant of our open space division. You can see behind us on the river we have our airboat positioned right behind. So to resonate what Chief of SEAL was speaking about is preparation is going to be a big key from coming out and enjoying the bosque here on the Rio Grande. With that in mind, where I'm going with education is some prohibited activities within the river area here. Our biggest and most thing that we're conscientious about is going to be any open flame fires. So even though it's nice and you want to bring a barbecue grill down to enjoy the river, we're going to have to ask you not to do that. That is a citable offense, and we'd rather not have to venture into that realm should you come out to enjoy the river that day, let alone preventing any accidents that will occur from sparking any flames in here, which in turn we call fire, and we help out in many endeavors as we have in the past when it comes to large-scale fires. Outside of the fire aspect is camping. It's a great time of year. The temperatures are definitely much cooler in the evenings and in the mornings, but camping is completely prohibited. That's in tandem with the fires. So we cannot have campers down here. My open space officers behind me in the khaki BDUs, they are out patrolling quite frequently, as well as our group of police service aides down here in the river. And we will contact you, notify that you have to remove the camp, and refusal to do so will end up in a citation. But there's reasons that we cannot allow those campsites to be erected within the bosque. One, because it is a state park, as well as the fire safety considerations. Of course, other illicit activities that may occur in the city hold true here. So no smoking in general is a big thing. Again, sparking from the cigarettes could potentially start a wildfire for us. When it comes to consumption of alcohol here in the park as well, that's a no-no, as well as any other illicit drug use. So we're gonna have to ask you guys not to do that. Outside of just what sounds kind of harsh with citations and contacting individuals in that matter, is we have the capabilities and with our partners of AFR conducting river rescues. That's what we utilize the boat for as well. Whether that's swift water, which is this time of year, this water is moving a lot faster than a lot of people expect. Just last night, there was overdue kayaker. Open space officers went out for about 2 hours before some deputies were able to locate the kayak on the bank that was secure. So just be prepared for those things. Educate yourself on what's prohibited within the bosque, and if you need assistance from fire or police, again, 911. Keep in mind those river markers. It does help us when we're patrolling on the boat to be able to get to you faster. Thank you for your time.
Any of you have any questions? Are we ready for demonstrations? Sure, Jessica.
How many rescues have you guys done this year so far, or was yesterday the first one?
So yesterday's, microphone's right. Okay, question was how many rescues thus far this year? Deployments, this is the second deployment this year, but there was no contact in that one. The kayak was just located, but it was organized on the shore like someone was leaving it to come pick up. And it sounds as though his friends did end up contacting him. But that's it this far, so let's keep those numbers low. We like to practice, but on the same token, less rescues mean less loss of life. So,
are you guys able to provide how many deployments were last year?
I don't have those numbers now. I apologize. Unless.
Yeah, the kind of a running calendar year from last spring runoff to last night. Numbers right about 70. I think we're right at 68. Okay. So last night would be 69 for the year of like you said, deployments. That's not all those resulted in a rescue, but that's how many times we've gone out and gotten these boats on the water and attempted a rescue.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions
for me?
I don't know. I guess my other question is, the river right now isn't going as fast as last year. Do you guys think it's going to peak anytime soon, or are you guys, is this more of a prevention kind of?
So, I mean, this whole thing is preventative at this point, right, to eliminate loss of life. But again, resonating with education, I think the biggest thing is you can actually go on to USGS's website and see they have meters throughout the river all the way from up in Corrales all the way down to I-25 that will tell you how fast that water's flowing, the height of the river. Just note enjoy the outdoors within your skill level. So much like the state park said, there's ways to educate yourself on that as well.
And the river can be very deceiving, even a slow. River can be very deceiving, even a relatively low-looking river or slow-moving water can still catch people off balance and can easily get them where they're taken down river and not able to stand back up in a safe manner. So don't necessarily rely on those speeds or what the river looks like.
The flow of the river this year, as I said, is a little bit lower compared to last year. Last year's flows were the highest flows we'd had, I think, in the four preceding years. I think this year the river flow is projected to remain at around a peak right around now and then gradually drop. It's typical that we have a spike in river flow later in the summer, crossing our fingers when the monsoon storms patterns arrive in New Mexico. I think right now we're probably looking at a river level that will be around the highest we'll see for the spring right now. But as the commander said, this river is wonderful at many levels. It is also dangerous at all levels. When the river is high, it covers obstacles. You can't see them, and it puts underwater obstacles out of sight, which could entangle a boater or a swimmer or a wader in those obstacles. At lower levels, similar risks are present, and because this river moves a tremendous amount of sediment, and it moves that sediment around continually. So the bottom of the river is constantly changing and shifting, which means that it may be shallow in one spot today and a deeper channel may be there tomorrow. So everyone just needs to exercise extreme awareness and safety when we're enjoying our wonderful Rio Grande.
I guess one more question. Based on yesterday situation, was that person an experienced kayaker, or what do we know about it?
So as of right now, the information we received, as far as his skill level, unsure on that, but we did receive information that they were consuming alcohol beforehand. So obviously that's going to impair judgment a little bit and maybe cause some overconfidence, because apparently friends were able to pull out of the river at the Poco Loco area, which is south near Rio Bravo. He didn't make it, so I don't know if he overshot, just again bad judgment, but as far as skill level, we're uncertain at this time.
And can we get like a quick nuts and bolts of what happened yesterday?
Call came in at approximately 11:30 for call for assistance with Bernalillo County Sheriff's. That's how the call originated. Albuquerque Fire Rescue was contacted as well to assist in the endeavor of launching watercraft, much like the airboat behind us. Preliminary information was that it was just an overdue kayaker, and as the hours were going on from the friends, he hadn't returned. Thus, their concerns grew. There was a deployment, like I said, of the watercrafts, which, being able to amplify our numbers with 2 as opposed to just 1, really ups our chances of locating anyone on the river, or at least finding the boat and giving us a reference point. But that was the limited information we had to go on. So, with at least having something in that realm, we have good enough information to at least affect a search. Yes, sir.
Whenever you guys do a deployment and you actually rescue someone, do you guys give recommendations to that person to take any classes or anything like that?
Yes, and it's contingent upon the situation, right? Some people, it's completely a medical episode. As it was brought up by Chief, one of the aspects is there's the temperature of the water, and as nightfall starts to set in, well, things got a lot colder, hypothermia sets in. So sometimes they're not even really in the state of mind for that kind of conversation. But if there is that level of lucidity, we will have that conversation with them of providing them, or at least a direction to those resources.
Key thing there was the call came in at 11:30 p.m.
Yes.
p.m. So this boater was out after dark, and that really kind of contributed to the risk and contributed to the seriousness of the incident. Thank goodness this one worked out as far as we know without any injury.
And I wanted to stress that It worked out because the agencies worked together. This particular one last night, we had 4 different agencies working together. Albuquerque Fire Rescue, Albuquerque Police Open Space, Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, and Bernalillo County Fire Department. So we did have 3 airboats out with all joint efforts, and that's the only way that we can truly have success with these rescues is by working together with all the agencies.
Any other questions? Nope, we're good. We're good for demonstrations. Launching the boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
¿Esto se va a ir ahorita? Ah, ¿qué quieres?